Hi, folks, and welcome to another episode of A Random Review. This is a special episode with a very special guest, Jon Wolfe. Today we're going to be talking about the Disney Star Wars films, what went wrong, and how they can save it with Boba Fett.
Let's get out of here. Ready for light speed? 1, 2, 3! That's our work. It's not my fault.
No light speed.
It's not my fault.
So, as some of you may or may not know, Solo didn't do very well in the theaters, and while a lot of people are trying to point that to being franchise fatigue, most of the people that are film fans and Star Wars fans don't think that's what it is. It's just bad writing fatigue.
Yeah, absolutely. It's what I was saying before we got going here. How can Marvel be doing so well? Like, not everything Marvel does gets knocked out of the park, but still, it's consistently good. It's always upward progress. But yet at the same time, Star Wars isn't. They're inverse of each other right now. So it's not franchise fatigue. That's just a nice little alliteration buzz phrase. It's just poor story fatigue, poor writing fatigue. They're just not interesting. The stories aren't compelling. It's as much as many people don't want to admit, it's kind of just a lot of them are remakes.
Well, I actually kind of liked the first one, Force Awakens. It wasn't great, but I think so far that was my favorite of any of them because it had the basics of a good movie. Though,
yeah, because it was copying A New Hope.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because it was copying A New Hope.
Yeah, it's
only they didn't get the same lightning in the bottle because they seem to just be following a list and they're just going, this needs to happen, this needs to happen, this needs to happen, but they're not connecting it with anything saying like this happens, so then this happens, and then this happens because this happens. It's just throw it out there, have it do it. And one of my favorite bit of advice on writing was from Matt Stone and Trey Parker from South Park, where they went to a college class and basically told them, like, the way they write.
Each individual scene has to work as a kind of funny sketch. You don't want one scene that's just like, well, what was the point of that scene? We've found out this really simple rule that maybe you guys have all heard before, but it took us a long time to learn it. But we can take these beats, which are basically the beats of your outline, and if the words "and then" belong between those beats, you're f***ed, basically. You got something pretty boring. What should happen between every beat that you've written down is either the word "therefore" or "but." Right? So what I'm saying is that you come up with an idea and it's like, okay, this happens, right? And then this happens. No. It should be this happens and therefore this happens. But this happens, therefore this happens. And that, as soon as we are able to, and literally sometimes we'll write it out to make sure we're doing it. We'll have our beats and we'll say, okay, this happened, but then this happens, and that affects this, and that does to that, and right. That's why you get a show that feels like, okay, this to that, to this to that, but this, here's the complication, to that.
And the new movies don't really do that too well. And even when they do it, it just doesn't seem very strong.
Yeah, it's just not an interesting story. It's like, okay, you can understand the progression of the events and the cause and effect and why this happened, and that happened because of this, and whatnot, and doing all that, but it's like, okay, yeah, but it's just not all that interesting.
Yeah, like...
Okay, it's like, oh, that happened. Okay, great. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, most people say that of the ones that have been out that they like, it's usually Rogue One. That one I actually hated, at least as far as a filmmaker point of view, because that one was a really, really, for me, a lot worse on that, especially with like the love story in it. Where it's just like
yeah. Oh, there's a love story too, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. So like the two main characters hate each other for a good reason, and then for no reason at all, they just do a 180 and all of a sudden they love each other, and at the end they have to hold hands before the world blows up.
Yeah,
But, like,
no,
it comes out of nowhere because, like,
yeah, I don't think I'm the first one to bring this up. It's probably one of the best fan films ever.
yeah,
Rogue One.
it felt more like a fan film.
It
Than
really did. It felt like a fan film with a really high budget.
Yeah, and the writers, it felt like it was probably their first time out the gate for a feature film, which I don't think it was, but still, it just felt like that.
Yeah, it had an amateurish feel to it when it came to the story and the events and the motivations between the characters, and then the giant list of the cast, which we have to now whittle down because the story requires it.
Sarah, don't go. Don't go. I'm here. I'm here.
It's okay. It's okay. Look for the Force.
Sarah.
You will always find me.
Well, it didn't even really require it because, okay, do what they did and have it to where they all died getting the stuff off the planet or whatever, but, like...
Yeah, like it shouldn't have been, rebel ship soldier guy number 8 with the white helmet that was running to give the plans to somebody else. That should have been one of the crew on Rogue One doing it. It should have been one of those guys doing it. That makes it so compelling.
And then the like...
And then also, too, the thing that a constant problem I have with trailers is scenes that are in a trailer that don't make it into the end movie, where there's them running through the water on the beach, which seems like it was just a great shot that they wanted to do for some reason, but just didn't make it into the final cut. And the one where the TIE fighter comes up on the end of the gantry, and that's not in the movie. And
that leads me to why one of the reasons I think it was so bad was this was another one that was victim to reshoots. The studio didn't like the way it was going because it was too dark. And
their definition of dark, whatever that version of dark is, I really want to see that. So just to compare it, if anything else,
because like the girl was going to be more of like a bitch to everybody else. I think, from what I've heard,
I rebel.
At least be more abrasive.
Yeah, there's some scenes where it seems like she's. It's not like a full split personality, but she's in one scene being not one way towards somebody and then is towards another. It's just her interactions seem inconsistent sometimes.
Which may even tie into why the love story just seems to just come out of nowhere. Maybe that was something that got lost.
Maybe they forgot about, we forgot about this last part at the end of the film. It's too late. We have to push it out into the theaters.
Because the way it goes... They're arguing that the guy has to kill her dad, so they obviously hate each other because of that. Then the guy goes out, he's watching him through a sniper rifle, and for no reason just like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't do it. And then the next time they see each other, they're in love. It feels like.
I was going to murder your father for the cause.
But I didn't.
So, mash face.
So
yeah, that's Rogue One.
Yeah. And then, of course... the worst of all of them, really, The Last Jedi.
Up front, I have to be honest. I've not even seen Last Jedi, but I have seen so much spoiler stuff. I've talked with so many people, I almost don't even feel like I need to in a way, which that may be reviewer blasphemy in some form. I probably will see it at some point. I just don't want to pay for it. I think that's my one problem. I don't want to spend any money whatsoever. Maybe gas money. I'll tolerate spending gas money to go see it. It's just when everybody is saying so many things that are in the one direction, when there's so many other sources that I like to go to when it comes to this type of thing, and they're all largely saying the same things in the non-spoiler reviews, in the spoiler reviews. It's like, can that many people be wrong?
Now, I did see it. I have Movie Pass to thank for that, so I didn't technically pay the ticket for it, I guess, but they get the money anyway. But it was very painful to watch. And yeah, like
painful.
that's like
downright painful. It's
just
torturous.
Like from a fan.
Clockwork Orange. Yeah, you're holding my eye open and putting drops in it, so I watch The Last Jedi.
Yeah, from a Star Wars fan point of view, and even though I'm wearing a Luke Skywalker jacket, I'm not a huge fanboy.
We are fans. We don't go to the depths as some others do, and I'm not bagging on that. If that's your bag, great, not mine.
But from a filmmaker's point of view, the writing was just horrible. It was full. They were trying to shoehorn in all the social messages in it, and it wasn't even subtle. It was just flat out. This is what it is. Like, that's the problem with the people who made this, is they don't know subtle to save their lives.
Yeah, it's subtle as a brick. I mean, that's really what it feels like. And like, I like messages with a movie. I don't mind a message being put into a movie. Just do it well. Find a good way to do it. You know, it could be an overarching thing that's like, oh, it's oppression of certain groups of people. Which, if you want to go back into the stories, further back into Now the Legends, the Emperor Palpatine rode a wave of humanoid bigotry that was going on, and he used it to cement his power, because he was like, oh, I'm going to put all the other aliens that are not human looking, you know, in chains and whatnot, and they even used Wookiees for slave labor at one point. You know, it's like, you can have an anti-slavery message if you want, or an trafficking message. You could do that. I mean, it could be done. There's a lot of ways you can do it, but
don't make it heavy-handed. Like, I compare.
Here's the message.
Like,
oh, we have a message.
It's the same with
message.
Yeah, and same with Solo. Even like the subtlety that they afford to it is just as bad as this one scene that was in that 9/11 movie that Nicolas Cage was in, about the firefighters that ran into the building.
Yeah,
the World Trade Center, where he's like, it's even in the trailer as a moment like, I don't know about you, but I'm going in there, and you can come with me.
I got it, Sarge.
And it's like, dude, nobody said that on the
Nick
day.
Cage
yeah.
I just remembered that movie because you just mentioned the name, and I've not thought of it ever since I last saw it.
That's always bugged me about that. That even just trailer for it.
Yeah, it's a bit hokey. Like,
it's like, yeah, you're trying to honor the people that sacrificed their lives, but don't do it like that. That makes it look cheesy and stupid.
Yeah,
as hell.
we don't need the 9/11 action movie starring Dwayne Johnson. Like, that doesn't need to happen. We don't need that.
And so back to Star Wars, with The Last Jedi, it's like the other big problem was the director, right? What was his name? Rian Johnson?
Ryan Johnson.
Ryan?
It is?
It is.
I thought it was pronounced Rain.
It's spelled strange.
It's like when you spell Jeff with a G and an E and an O and two Fs.
That at least I get, but like, I don't know. It's spelled Rain, whatever. But but anyway, Rian Johnson's attitude, even making this film, was he likes to make movies that half the audience hates. You can't do that with this type of film. This is a huge, huge money cow for Disney that they bought, and you're just destroying most of your fans.
It's not the time to get experimental when you're using an already established franchise, which is generational now at this point. There were fans who raised their children on Star Wars stories.
I grew up with it as a kid. It started before I was born. My brother was a fan. Got me into it. I even watched the cartoons that were on, and the really, really, really crappy.
I never saw those.
Really crappy made-for-TV movies that they did, the Ewok movies.
In a galaxy far, far away, a brother and sister search for their missing parents.
How are we going to find them?
We will. Don't worry.
And fate leads them to the magical Ewoks.
We help you.
Oh, I saw the Ewok. Never mind. Yeah, I saw the Ewok movie.
Yeah.
I actually, for whatever reason, when I was a child, I did like those, but they always didn't seem like a Star Wars movie for me. It was like, this was just an Ewok spin-off film, which it literally was. But
my biggest thing,
it wasn't Star Wars. It didn't seem like Star Wars.
My biggest thing as a kid was the little girl that was the main character, and the one, at least the one that I remember vividly, because I remember thinking, like, wait, is that a little girl or is that a little boy? Like, her costume was just so ambiguous.
What's wrong? Danger.
That like, I spent most of the movie as a kid trying to figure out, like, okay, wait, what?
Yeah, I'm tired of all that unisex bullcrap. But
the reference from something from before, earlier.
Yes, nice. Nobody else got it. But yeah, so that's the thing. It's funny. It's like we already have precedent within the Star Wars films of what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like, okay, if it was somebody else and like he didn't realize that people have done poor quality films and other productions with Star Wars franchise, they're gonna do it again.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to get experimental or do things my own way. Screw you. I don't care what you've set me up to do.
Which is
do what I want to do.
Which is why they got rid of the directors for Solo and replaced them with Ron Howard, because they were going off the rails of being improv and not sticking to the script.
Like, multiple takes doing improv the entire time.
Yeah.
It's like...
And apparently getting, like, really bad on some of the jokes, like talking about bodily functions and stuff, I think.
Well, keeping it within Disney, yeah. There was a lot of stuff. Robin Williams always hinted about there was a lot of takes he did as the genie where things went blue and he wasn't talking about the genie's color. So yeah, you can't. If it's fully animated, okay, you got the time to mess around in a studio doing that, doing voiceover work and whatnot. But you've got things you got to do, and I don't have a film background. I just think about this. I talk with other people. I read other things. You've got a schedule you got to keep to. You can't just keep making take after take after take. That has nothing to do with the script.
Yeah, and like
it's not even like back in the day when you'd be wasting film.
Yeah,
a lot of it's digital. Okay, we just delete it.
Even like a movie like Anchorman or Anchorman 2, they had so many alternate takes that they were able to make a totally different version of the movie out of it.
Right.
Like, you can't do that with Star Wars.
No, I don't need to see this weird alternate take on the super deluxe special edition DVD that comes out like 10 years later when we need to make more money off of it.
Milk was a bad choice.
What was the name of the guy who wrote and directed Empire Strikes Back? Lawrence Kasdan.
The man.
And then his son, whatever his name is.
Is he still alive? Can we get him? Can we get him to do Boba Fett?
He wrote he co-wrote with his son Solo.
Yeah.
He's the reason why they changed directors.
But he also wrote.
It was the only reason why I was holding out any hope.
Was he the voice of reason in this entire thing?
He might have been. He got rid of the directors because we'll go into that.
He wrote Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Too.
Did he? Okay.
Ooh.
So maybe that's why it had some semblance of...
Oh, cue the meatloaf, man.
Which leads me into Solo, which beginning before it even started filming was having issues. And then when it started filming, it had issues. They had to bring an acting coach in to teach the guy playing Solo how to act.
Ridiculous. Grown-ups are talking.
That is not a good sign at all.
I mean, you see, the thing is like when it comes to Solo, there's a lot already out there in the press, and really, honestly, kind of rehashing that really is just doing that. It's just rehashing it. You know, the film didn't do well. Audiences didn't really care for it.
When I went and saw it in the theater, the best part of the film was when the droid gets killed, and this like 9-year-old boy in the theater just yells out, "I don't care about any of this."
I know. At least Rogue One, when the droid was shot to death, I actually really was starting to... I was having some feels. The feels were occurring.
Yeah, that was the only character in Rogue One that I actually liked was the droid. He was hilarious. His dry sense of humor was great.
I'm K2SO. I'm a reprogrammed Imperial droid.
I remember you.
I see the Council is sending you with us to Jeddah.
Apparently so.
That is a bad idea. I think so, and so does Cassin.
I'm just worried they might miss you and hit me.
Doesn't sound so bad to me. Did you know that wasn't me? There are a lot of explosions for two people blending in. You're right. I should just wait on the ship. Congratulations. You are being rescued. Please do not resist.
Yeah, it's great. And why can't all droids be like him?
Yeah.
But I don't think everybody wants to make a droid with a dry sense of humor.
And then, of course, back to the directors getting kicked out. They got kicked out because the writer, Lawrence Kasdan, I'm leaving that in.
You got it.
Lawrence Kasdan stepped in because he didn't like that they were letting the actors improv because they were going all kinds of ways off of the script of like even talking about like bodily functions as humor and stuff like that. He stepped in and put his foot down, and thankfully they had enough pull to say no. They kicked them off, but then they brought in Ron Howard to just basically just reshoot 90% of the film, I think.
I don't think it went that high, but it was the majority. They had to go in and reshoot. I mean, that's a problem. And you don't have to bring in an entirely separate director.
Yeah, and the biggest
to go reshoot most of the movie.
Biggest problem with the reshoots, and I think it was a problem with Rogue One, and it was a problem with the Fantastic Four movie that flopped with Fox, is you can tell usually when they've reshot something because either the tone's different.
Yeah, the tone's different, lighting's different.
The lighting's different, or in the case of Fantastic
Four, someone's wearing a wig.
Yeah, the girl playing Sue Storm is wearing a wig in the reshoots because she had already gotten a haircut by that point.
Or are they going CGI and mustache out?
Yeah, or like in the Justice League movie, they had to go back in and take Superman's mustache off because, and then a fan does it like 10 times better at home.
Yeah, no, don't let fans make Hollywood look bad. If you're studios, don't do that. Do a good job. Like if you need to go back and fix something, don't make it be a rush job. Take the time and the effort to sit down and do it.
And the only thing that even gave me even the smallest glimmer of hope that the Solo movie was going to be any good was the writer Lawrence Kasdan, and he co-wrote it with his son, which I can tell that's probably why it did so bad.
There's a funny thing with bringing Kasdan up again, though. There's like an interesting irony because the "I love you, I know" lines in Empire were, Harrison Ford improv is "I know" because they did a bunch of different takes trying it, which is funny when Kasdan's complaining about you're doing too many improvs.
Well, that's the thing.
That's
I think
okay. There's a real problem there.
As long as it's in step with what's written, I don't think he would care. But when it goes off the rails and like turns into Solo Anchorman 3 or something,
and you're not getting that one that you need, like
I love you.
I know.
Yeah, okay, you get it, and you got the lightning in the bottle, and cut print, great.
The reason that was a glimmer of hope because like we're getting at is he directed Empire Strikes Back, which is generally everybody's favorite of the original trilogy. It's definitely mine. In fact, I'm wearing Luke Skywalker's jacket from that film that has a patch on it that wasn't in the film, but whatever.
We felt the need to establish our fandom to a degree.
Yeah, but anyway, I honestly think a lot of the problems was probably his son trying to shoehorn in social topics into this film. The droid was like some kind of like droid rights activist, which just really was like so abrasive that it seemed like even Lando had a problem with it.
Yeah.
Well, it's an entirely new angle in Star Wars also. Yeah. It's like beforehand, like nobody cared. Like cut to like the Jawa Sandcrawler where they're like it's like a droid chop shop of horrors where they're like cutting different droids up and like piecing them together just enough to function to where they can go sell them to some schmuck moisture farmer somewhere.
Yeah.
Uncle Owen!
Yeah?
It's R2 unit has a bad motivator, look!
Hey, what are you trying to push on us?
I mean, they did kind of touch on like droids get discriminated against a little bit because like in the first film when they go into the cantina, they're like, we don't serve aircon here, get out.
No droids. Yeah,
okay, that's enough.
But at the same time, droids aren't going to be buying a whole lot of alcoholic beverages.
Yeah.
So he had something there going on. They're taking up valuable space at the bar, at the tables. I can get that.
Plus, droids are a tool. They're robots. They're literally made to do jobs. They're not, which kind of ties into a lot of like more recent stories in different movies and TV shows. It's like, well, is artificial intelligence like really a person kind of thing? And it's just like, it's been done to death. You don't need to do it in a Star Wars film. And it was like the character was
it's a popular topic, and it seems like it was included because that's a popular topic.
Yeah.
Let's include that.
And the character was so annoying that it seemed like even Lando, there didn't seem a reason why he liked it. Like there's a scene where like he's like, I'm going in the back. Does anybody want anything? Like meaning like, do you want me to grab you a drink or something? And she's like, could all get droid rights? And it's just like, and like even he rolls his eyes at it like that was annoying.
Yeah.
And then
it seems like he too was just waiting for the droid to be done away with and to be replaced with Lobot.
And is it just me, or did they pick the same actress who played Captain Plasma to do her voice?
Oh, my sacral-occipital circuit is sticking. You're gonna have to do that thing again later.
Yeah.
You can't be so stupid as to think this will be easy. My troops will storm this block and kill you all.
I disagree.
And the only thing that I enjoyed about the movie was actually something that happened in the theater. Was this 8-year-old kid is sitting in the theater when she gets killed, the droid, he yells out, "I don't care about any of this." Most of us started laughing in the theater. It was
really, that is,
it was perfect. It was
from the mouth of babes. That 8-year-old child is really starting to sum up, I think, the mainstream opinion of the Star Wars films. It's like getting to the point where I don't care about any of this.
And he seemed to like most of the other parts of the film. Like he was talking during a lot of it. This kid, whatever.
He's an 8-year-old kid in the movie theater.
But
they always talk.
That just summed up my whole reaction to the film. Is just you don't care about what's going on. The love interest seems shoehorned in.
This child's not having an awakening now into the world of in-depth storytelling through, Solo, a Star Wars story. It's not the same thing is not happening that happened to his father when he went and saw, A New Hope for the first time.
Yeah, and but the writing in Solo is just it's very lackluster. The love story feels shoehorned in. You really don't feel connected with them. In fact, after I saw this, I went out and saw Upgrade.
I need your permission to operate independently.
Permission granted!
Thank you.
What the fuck? Stay down, man. Sam, he's got a knife!
I see that. We have a knife, too.
And the love story in that was so much better and so well done. It was like a palate cleanser for me. Because you actually feel the connection between the two characters.
Oh, if anything, you want to talk about a love story between at least a physical person, that's represented as a person going into Blade Runner 2049. Ryan Gosling's character and the hologram girlfriend, I forget her name, but
even that was
compelling.
Yeah.
And there's weird things that they're doing with, sex workers to have some kind of experience, some physical experience between them. They're exploring this really weird dynamic. And obviously
but they do it in a way that's interesting and keeps your attention.
And we're probably not going to get stuff like that in a Star Wars film.
Yeah.
But, there's still other ways you could address
Which leads
things.
back to the whole checklist thing. It's they got the checklist. This needs to happen. This needs to happen. This needs to happen. And they don't give you the reason why it has to happen in the film. And that ruins the story.
It's this happens because the plot requires it.
Exactly. And
the story no longer functions if this doesn't happen.
And then
it stops dead in its tracks.
And then the writing itself was kind of lazy in that Han wants to be a pilot. He teams up with Woody Harrelson and his crew.
So either you healed real quick, or you stole it off a dead man. You're not Imperial Army. You're thieves here to steal equipment for a job, and I want in.
Well, now we gotta shoot him.
No. Snap his neck.
And he's like, I'm a good pilot, I can pilot. But they're like, nope, we got a pilot. And the pilot dies. And he has to take over.
Conveniently.
So. And he doesn't just die. He hangs on long enough to go, you know what? You are a good pilot. And then they repeat it with the droid. Because she's the pilot of the Millennium Falcon. And then she obviously gets killed. And they drag her into the Millennium Falcon. And Lando's sitting there like, don't die on me. Somebody do something. You gotta save her. And then she's like, And so obviously Han Solo's got to take over, and it's we
also had a droid mechanic on the crew too.
And you already set that up. You already did that. You don't need to do it the exact same way again in the film. It's lazy. It's almost like what Lucas kind of did with the Death Star being in A New Hope and in Jedi, though it's not as bad. Where originally the story was going to have what happened in Jedi at the end of A New Hope, and because they put that out of the story, they still wanted the big Death Star finale. And then, of course, when it came to Jedi, they're like, oh, well, let's just do it again, which is one of my criticisms of the film, even though I do like it.
We'll do it again, but just a little different.
Yeah. But in this, it's like, it's in the same film. It's like, it's insulting. It's like, oh, you forgot about that probably. Let's just throw this in. And it's lazy. And then, of course, the backlash that Rian Johnson is mostly the spearheading is, it's just the toxic fans and it's the white male fans that don't want strong female leads and stuff.
See,
referring to all of the films.
Okay, yeah, no.
And it's like, no.
We're starting to get more in my wheelhouse when it comes to people just having bad reactions and things. That is just excuse making.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, dude. If your movie was good and those people that hated it liked it instead, you wouldn't need to be going on your own PR campaign on social media, slamming the people who saw the movie and saying, basically saying, oh, they just didn't get it.
Yeah. And
it wasn't for them.
Even with Rian Johnson, he says he wants to make a movie that 50% of the audience hates. Like, that's terrible. At least for this type of film, it's terrible to do it that way because
wrong kind of film, wrong franchise.
Exactly. It's like this is you're killing your audience and you're killing your cash cow. And then using that as an excuse, that obviously didn't work very well for the new Ghostbusters film, which they started before it even came out because of fans' reactions to the trailer.
Oh, yeah, goodness. No,
Yeah.
when you have that negative a reaction to a trailer, just a trailer, not even movie, the movie's not even released yet, and people don't like the trailer.
Yeah, and I honestly think they knew beforehand, before they even started marketing it, that this was going to happen, that the movie wasn't good, that it was just crap, and so they're like, okay, what angle can we take to try to make it look like nobody can criticize it? And so they picked the female angle, which unfortunately...
Which is the wrong kind of angle, because really the smart thing to do, which I've noticed with a lot of movies, which I end up not caring for, but got sold on really well, is they cut a really good series of trailers. Cut really awesome trailers that make it almost seem like it's going to be a good take on the types of films. Like I think of the Man of Steel, the second trailer for Man of Steel. I thought it was going to be a much deeper movie based off of that, and it not be, again, sidetracking on me getting disappointed by different movies. But, the amount of effort they would put into, doing a recovery trailer. We're going to do a really good trailer to kind of sell this more. It's like, no, we're just going to have a social media campaign talking about how people are stupid. And that'll make them want to go buy tickets to see our movie.
And the whole excuse that it's just boys not liking girls in their film, it's like, no, look at all of the popular movies with lead females.
Lead females in science
movies,
fiction,
mostly. Everybody loves Ripley. Sigourney Weaver is one of the best actresses in those films. And...
Princess Leia herself, Leia is not a damsel in distress.
She's not. They criticize the metal bikini because it's really skimpy, shows a lot of skin. But that's the whole point of the character, is that Jabba's a creepy little slug monster. Sex thing that puts her in this because he's got sex slaves.
Yeah, no, I don't care about how they're talking about they were groundbreaking when it comes to the pansexuality of Lando. Jabba the Hutt, a giant slug monster, had the hots for Princess Leia and put her in a skimpy slave girl outfit. Okay, no, they were breaking that kind of ground already in Jedi.
And then she gets the upper hand and kills him. What better way to show female empowerment than killing the oppressor like that?
So this is the state of Star Wars right now. The state is not good. Much needs to be done to bring it around. And really, why we're here at 2 a.m, is it was announced with a director that made it sound like this could really be something good, is the Boba Fett, a Star Wars story film. I know there's a lot of talk for the Kenobi film, and I could probably be down for that too, but that's the thing. Obi-Wan Kenobi's been in several different movies already with more than just under 7 minutes of dialogue.
Yeah.
Boba Fett, who has a giant fan base that is all organic on its own, you have grounds there that are, ripe to be sown with the seeds to make a very, very good movie and really turn the series around.
Yeah, and even if Disney doesn't want to use any of the extended universe stuff, they've got a lot of stuff to use as a basis, as a jumping off point to making a good stuff film.
So, Boba Fett movie. It was going to happen. Now all of the movies are on hold, with the exception of the next of the trilogy, because that was already started. They have to have. They can't not make a Star Wars episode.
Yeah.
Like, that must happen regardless of if it's even worse than The Last Jedi. It still has to be made to complete the box set.
So now with all the movies being put on hold, Kathleen Kennedy possibly getting out. At least that's the rumor that I've heard.
Heard that too, very recent.
Iger's not happy with her, and she may be getting the boot. My guess is if they do, they're probably going to let her gracefully say, "Oh, you know what? I've had enough of working with this. It's been great, but I'm going to go ahead and move on to something else."
Yeah, they're not giving her an empty printer paper box.
Yeah. And being escorted out, because I don't think
much as some fans would probably very much like to be a fly on the wall in that situation, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, but so in other words, like, what could they do to save it? And I think the best way to save it is with the Fett movie. You got to have some ground rules, of course, and some of them you can kind of get leeway on, but for sure, no love interest.
Have notes, yes.
Yeah, nothing redeeming about Boba Fett at all.
Boba Fett is not a good guy.
Yeah.
He kills people for money. Okay?
Even though Deadpool was really good and influential, showed you how you could do a rated R movie with superheroes, don't play it for laughs. That was one of the biggest points against Solo, was the way they played stuff for laughs was just cringy. Boba Fett is not funny. He's only likable as, like, mainly as what was it we were calling it before when we were talking about work? Not an anti-hero, but an anti-villain.
Yeah, the terrible term I coined, anti-villain.
Yeah.
He's a bad guy, but he's so good at what he does. It's like you're just forced to like him, and you want to see him go be a bad guy. It's the best villains are the ones you like.
And if you do it right, you'll give all the people that are on the fence with Boba Fett, or like they don't get it because he doesn't do a lot in the original trilogy.
Yeah, no, I've seen so many people bag on him in comment sections. Yeah. He's like, oh, he's so stupid. He gets killed by like a hole in the ground.
Or even in the first movie with the special edition and how they kind of shoehorned him back in there, he's still in the background. He doesn't do anything. He's just there.
He's a dude. He's got a jetpack and a laser gun.
Yeah, in fact, they don't even say his name in that. Like, he doesn't get a name until Empire.
Like, only people who have seen the other Star Wars movies are going to know who he is.
Really, if
that was your first time seeing it, you'd have no idea who he was.
Really, his first appearance was the Christmas special that they did.
You saved my life. Thank you.
You are alone?
I have 2 droids. We've come in search of a ship that crashed near here.
Maybe I can help you. I am Boba Fett. The ship you seek is nearby.
Are the Imperial troops near this planet?
They are here, friend, and growing more powerful.
How far away?
Settle down. All they do is eat.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't count.
It doesn't count, but that is technically the first appearance of Boba Fett.
Technically, yes.
So, like, you know, you could only go downhill from there.
Starlog update. Although Boba Fett quickly located the serum for the sleeping virus, we had no idea of his real plan.
I have made contact with the rebels, and all is proceeding as you wish, Darth Vader.
What is it now?
I love to pull technicalities, but I hate having them pulled on me. I can dish it out.
But I don't mean that as far as like being in canon or anything, but like just
no, the Christmas story's canon. No, I don't care.
No, I mean as far as like for his first actual appearance in front of audiences. He wasn't in the movie. Empire wasn't out yet because it was like right after. I think it was like right after.
They had this whole marketing campaign with him too as a toy for the longest period of time too. And that's a crazy story to look into. Also, when it comes to stuff.
The canceled figure with the shooting rocket, but they got rid of it because of another toy that had an issue where a kid got hurt or killed or something. So they got rid of that.
I see why they call you the best bounty hunter in the galaxy.
Oh no. But what do we do now?
The other thing you got to do is, if you got to show his origin, don't have it be like with Solo, where it's a flat out, like straight up origin story like that, because we've already got it set up in the prequels.
Yeah.
Even though the prequels weren't great, go ahead and use that as like a basis of like, okay, his dad was a big bounty hunter. He's trying to fill his shoes. Maybe have him start with Jango's uniform, but people don't take him serious because they know he's dead.
Maybe it doesn't quite fit. Yeah. Jango Fett is known to be dead at this point, so you can't even try to like. It's like, hey, I'm Jango Fett also. It's like, no, you're not, kid.
And then like. That could be the only like little bit of humor that you get from him is just him just trying to get into it, but don't overdo it. And then maybe have a scene where he's like recoloring the uniform to his own colors, because maybe that's a Mandalorian what's the word I'm looking for? Tradition, where they just do that anyway.
I mean, and the animated series did its own thing too with Boba Fett. He got involved in like a bounty hunters guild, and they put together their team, and he was actually trying to chase down Mace Windu and take revenge. I mean, like it's a pretty standard revenge plot that ends up not working because obviously Boba Fett does not kill Mace Windu.
Yeah, but like what you can do, either go for an R or a very hard PG-13.
Yeah,
no cussing, because there's really no cussing.
There's no cursing in Star Wars unless it's like made up curse words, which are always
which I think they may have slipped like one or two in a couple of the movies, but it's not there until a point where it's like every other word. But mostly,
obviously not going to be any nudity. It's a Star Wars movie,
but mostly do it for like showing how he kills everybody.
Yeah, there's going to be action. This is going to be one of the most action-packed Star Wars films there is. You know, Boba Fett needs to slay. He needs to slay all day.
You need to show why everybody's so scared of him.
Reputation.
Why Han Solo in Jedi freaks the hell out when he realizes that that Boba Fett is there on the ship with him. This guy's got to be a very evil person.
I mean, he's referred to sometimes in some of the literature as a living weapon. I mean, aside from the fact of carrying multiple, wrist rockets and a flamethrower, and he's got the blaster gun, and he's got the grappling hook, and all kinds of other stuff. I think I read something where he can like shoot poison darts out of his knee armor, that's interesting. I mean, that's probably an application for that. But this dude's BA. He really is. He actually is a clone trooper. Let's not forget that. He just didn't have the advanced aging stuff to make him grow up real fast to be useful. But everything else is him. He's just unaltered. He doesn't have the advanced growth. Other than that, he's still a clone trooper going way back. On top of that, he had a lot of mentoring from his father directly. In the lore, it goes and talk about how his father left a lot of stuff behind him for him to read, which he studies and things like that. So you could even have neat scenes where maybe there's like,
flashback or something.
Or he's reading some kind of like hologram or watching some kind of hologram thing where it's Jango Fett and, teaching him all this other types of stuff. Maybe he's teaching about Mandalore and what it means to be a Mandalorian and all this other type of stuff. Because by this time in the storylines, Mandalore's already been captured by the Empire, and they've been subjugated hard.
In fact, and of course, it doesn't count anymore because the extended universe is no longer canon. But in the extended universe, he's the only person left of the Mandalores. In fact, to the point where they're not even sure if he's Mandalorian or not. They think he's may have just found the costume or killed the original owner of it. And this is, of course, before Jango Fett was established. Mm-hmm. But they thought maybe he just got it off of some dead guy that he had to kill, and he just wears it for a mystique. So if you do the origin type story, what you can do is towards the end of the film, maybe he gets jobs because of people that know about his dad, feel bad for him and give it to him.
He gets a pity side job.
Yeah, So what you can do towards the end of the film is have him go back and kill anybody that knows his backstory, even the people he's friends with, because that adds to the mystique. Nobody knows who this guy is, and at this point of the movie, which would be towards the end, he's established himself as being able to get the job done, being resourceful, because maybe he has to use a disintegrator ray, which that will tie into the point you made the other day.
Yeah.
But something to where he can prove that he's going to get the job done.
He gets the job done, yeah, basically. Boba Fett's the dude that gets the job done.
The other thing is
to the point to where he may even be very heavy-handed, to where, if you want to send a message, you send Boba Fett. Because remember, in Empire, when Vader's talking to all the motley gang of bounty hunters that he's assembled, he specifically points out and talks directly to Boba Fett and says,
"No disintegrations."
As you wish.
This is a captured mission.
Yeah, so maybe that's a thing that
that could be a signature thing that he does. And if that's a signature thing that he does, it needs to be in the movie. Boba Fett needs to be disintegrating people. And then, on screen, and then just to drive the point home of just how much of a bad guy he really is.
And then, of course, he has to have a way to prove that he killed him. So maybe it leaves behind some kind of, because they never really show disintegration rate.
The closest thing we get to see what somebody might look like getting disintegrated is Uncle Owen.
Oh yeah,
in Peru.
Yeah, maybe that's the disintegration rate. Yeah,
maybe that's what it looks like when someone gets disintegrated. All that's left is just your charred skeleton, and that could be like a human type.
And he can use maybe a finger bone or DNA from the skeleton as proof.
Because we already know he collects trophies too. Because if you looked into him and studied this a little bit like I did. The tassels he's got hanging here on the side off the right shoulder, those are like Wookiee scalps.
Yeah.
So he's a trophy collector also. So that might be a weird thing he does, where maybe he keeps some, on some particularly tough or notorious kills, he'll collect a piece of them or something. I mean,
almost like Dexter, but not as,
or even a little bit Predator-like.
Yeah, more like Predator.
A little bit like that. Not trying to go too far into it. Just a little. He doesn't have to be polishing skulls in in his off time, and
And the other thing that you absolutely cannot do is ever show his face.
Yeah, no,
never
show his face.
Even if he takes the helmet off, keep the camera underneath his chest line so you don't see his face.
Or there's some kind of quick cut where you don't see it, or something like that. He has to be like Judge Dredd.
Yeah. Just Dredd. That was the movie.
Well,
with Kyle Urban.
I'm referring to the comic books, even the comic books of Judge Dredd.
Yeah.
There'll be some kind of weird thing in profile to where you only see the jawline or see him from behind in the bathtub at one point.
Because that's who the character is. You never see his face.
Yeah, he's faceless.
If you got to take it off, like the scene that I was suggesting where he's maybe repainting the armor, don't show his face while he's doing it.
Yeah, you just see his hands repainting the armor or working from behind.
And that would take a really skilled actor, even Kyle Urban, in Dredd, he was great in that. I'd give him huge credit for not making him take the camera or take the helmet off.
How do you plead? Defense noted. I am the law.
Like Sylvester Stallone did in the first movie.
Oh gosh, it wasn't Dredd anymore at that point. But
also, don't have him be a huge talker. He's a quiet type, so make it when he does talk, it's like actually means something.
No, he only speaks when he really needs to, and if he does make any kind of remarks that even start to approach witty in some kinds of way, the word I like to use is it needs to be laconic. It has to be something to where someone was just very, very boastful, and then he just says like one or two words, and it just totally makes that dude...
Shuts him down.
Yeah.
And which will lead us into like, okay, well, how do you have a movie with someone who barely talks? Well, maybe the premise of the movie, he has to do an escort mission for a mob boss, maybe even Jabba, where he's got to escort a character, and the character that he's escorting is going to be the audience point of view.
Yeah, this was an idea I had a little while ago, because as I was looking into Boba Fett and all the different stories and whatnot, there's a comic book. So right after the Battle of Yavin, Death Star gets blown up. Vader wants to find out who the pilot was that blew him up. He goes to, actually, like from what I recall, he goes to like Jabba a day before he's supposed to go to Jabba to negotiate on behalf of the Empire for some other war material and stuff. But he goes and contracts 2 bounty hunters to go try to find out who this rebel pilot was, because obviously he either wants him dead or to torture him or do whatever evil Sith Lord things he does. There is a situation where Boba Fett is now going through Mos Eisley. There's a great scene in the cantina in the comic books, in this comic book, that I think you could draw some stuff, make it more of a flashback kind of thing. But it eventually leads to Obi-Wan Kenobi's old place, and at the same time, Luke Skywalker's going there. As it turns out, Boba Fett finds out that pilot was Luke Skywalker. There's a fight that breaks out between the two. It's actually pretty interesting how it plays out. Luke's really not coming to the own with the Force powers yet at all. He hasn't gone through any training yet. Fett's getting the upper hand. R2-D2 throws the box and hits Boba Fett in the head and knocks him out. That should not be in this movie, something as lame as that. But, gets away. So all that Fett's able to give to Vader is just the name Skywalker. Okay, obviously big significance there. But at this point, Boba Fett has failed. He didn't catch this dude. He wasn't supposed to go kill him, obviously. This was a capture mission again. But now he owes Jabba big, because he made Jabba look really bad in front of Vader. Now, this doesn't need to be referenced directly. You can have a scene where, Jabba's basically dressing him down and saying, no, you need to go do a job to make up for what you just did to make me look bad in front of Vader. And now my negotiating position's even worse, because when I send my best bounty hunters supposedly to go catch one jerk, they can't even do it. So no, you're going to go do this one job for me. And as it turns out, it is kind of an escort job, and this is, Fett's not interested. It's not what he does. Fett goes out and he catches people, or he disintegrates them. That's what he does. He doesn't go, he's not a babysitter, he's not a delivery boy, he doesn't take things, or he doesn't take people in other places. But he's forced into the situation, so he gets some nice, conflict, and puts Fett in a situation to where he doesn't just have to blast his way out. He has to bring somebody somewhere, and they can't get hurt, obviously. And what I was thinking, an interesting way to reintroduce some older technology was the character Lobot. You remember Lobot from Empire? He had the weird kind of, futuristic headset. Well, that's actually a cybernetic implant. And it allowed him to connect to the computers at Cloud City, all that stuff. He could do calculations really, really quick. But the thing is, when you go to do that, it affects your personality. You can remove parts of it or alter it. Well, that's where our person who needs to be escorted is. They're a person who's had one of these cybernetic implants in them. And for whatever reason, they need to, there's a lot of different people that want the information in here. This is our MacGuffin, is the information in the person's head, not just the person.
And it could be anything like trade routes,
smuggling routes. It won't be plans of the Death Star 2. No, it's not going to be that.
But maybe some kind of thing that everybody wants to get their hands on. The Empire, the Rebels.
The crime syndicates. This information, whatever it really turns out to be, everyone's going to want it.
Yeah.
For whatever their purposes are. So this creates a situation to where now there's going to be a lot of people coming after Fett and the person he's got to escort. And he's going to have to do some pretty rough stuff to try to keep this person alive, and obviously not badly injured to where they, wouldn't be able to get the information out of him or whatnot. But at the same time, it's real time sensitive because he's got to be able to get them to a safer place. Maybe back with Jabba, maybe with some other contact Jabba has. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, this is stuff that can be figured out when the story's actually being written.
Of course. And then if you make it a female, I think originally when we came up with this, you hadn't thought of the cyborg thing.
No, I hadn't thought of that yet.
We were thinking maybe it could be a daughter of like maybe another mob boss or something. So you could have it play off of her being maybe a spoiled brat and not thinking Boba Fett was tough shit, and him.
Yeah, just not believing the hype.
Yeah,
Again,
and he does
like the deadliest bounty hunter in the galaxy.
He doesn't really care if she believes him or not.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Which will lead into maybe he just says one or two things or just grunts at her whenever she brings it up, and then when she finally sees how he actually operates, is blown away by it and can see why. And maybe she thinks they're kind of bonding throughout the film because he's having to save her. But then when you find out at the end of the movie that, it was just a job.
She's just a job.
This part was my idea. It's a little shaky, but I think this might work if you did it right. Have him get her to her destination, everything, get the job done, get paid, and then maybe have some reason why he has to kill everybody there, or including her. Just because of how bad he is.
I mean, maybe a better contract came through or something maybe something like that.
Yeah, maybe have a throwaway scene where he's flying somewhere and he's checking a hologram message or something. Not even voiced, just something he looked at some point. And that's the contract.
It's a space text.
Yeah. So once he's done getting her to where she needs to go, kill everybody there, including her. And that would go back to the don't make him redeemable aspect, because he's that cold-hearted. He's going to kill this person who supposedly you think that they bonded throughout the entire film.
And an interesting thing too to really for the female character who's got the implant to be a foil to him too. When they talk about the implants alter their personality, you could kind of make her because if she's really inquisitive to begin with, and then gets a computer implanted into her head that can make her calculate things really fast, well, she's going to be really voracious for information because she's able to just think and do things so much faster now.
And it could be that that's part of his mission is to get that implant put in and then taken to wherever she's got to go too.
I like when she's already got it in it though. But the thing is too, because the way that I think it works better this way too, is that it altered her personality in a way where it kind of makes her a bit mildly autistic, to where she doesn't have any
people skills
at all.
Yeah.
Which is going to be really interesting with somebody who keeps asking all these really probing questions of Boba Fett, and he's not able to, disintegrate this person. So it starts to bring in that comedy element that, that does exist. There was some comedic elements in the original Star Wars films. But, the tastes have changed a bit. People want a bit more comedy, even if it's a bit, I don't want to say dark, but just almost out of place. But this makes sense for it to be out of place because it's someone who's had their personality altered by a cybernetic implant.
It shouldn't be like a flat out goofy humor. It should be something maybe that relieves the tension if they do it right.
Tension relieving kind of comedy, and things like that. And
not just one-liners and stuff, because while those can work, they don't always work. And it's lazy writing if you rely on it too much.
Yes, it's the kind of thing that's not going to land well in a Boba Fett movie. Some of my other dues here, we do need to see Fett struggling with the death of his father, I think. It's obviously a life-altering event for him, watching his father get decapitated. There's got to be a struggle there. Maybe bounty hunting brings him closer to his father, in a way. Maybe, he all these old training tapes and what's that he watches to learn things with. It connects him in some kind of way.
And maybe that's how you sneak in the message. You think he's just looking at a hologram of his dad talking to him, or even just a picture of him at one point. And maybe you show him doing that every once in a while, but then this one time it wasn't actually that, it was something else.
Yeah, that could be an interesting connection, where he's constantly looking at it and thinking it is. I like that. That could work pretty well, especially with your unhappy ending. And the thing is, too, the story, it needs to be kind of laser focused here, because going back to what I was saying, it sets this up to where Boba's in the red here when it comes to Jabba. That whole thing, because in the storyline, there's only about 3 years in between A New Hope and Empire. So, and after that first year is when Boba finally catches up to Skywalker. Well, okay, you've got a 2-year time frame in which it could take place. This doesn't need to be a big, galaxy-spanning thing in the storyline sense, just in this small story right here. This is the one situation in which Fett's in this weird fish out of water situation where he's got to deal with somebody he really hates him and would probably want to kill just because they annoy him. And he's killed people for less. He absolutely has. And it doesn't need to be bigger. It doesn't need to be bigger than that. It doesn't need to be something where he finally gets revenge on Mace Windu from, 4 movies ago or whatever. It doesn't need to be, it's some kind of secret plans to the Death Star 2. It doesn't need to be that. This can be a small-scale story that is taking place in this larger universe, because there's tons of smaller stories going on at the same time. I mean, people have always complained about Star Wars being focused on this one, family basically the whole time. Well, yeah, but at the same time, they're the one family that's involved in all these big events. Well, let's kind of not quite invert it, but just change a little bit to where we just have some relatively smaller players which ducked in and out at different times as needed. But, what's going on when that's not happening? Okay, this is what was happening. And at the end of it, if you wanted to tie it into where he finally gets a message for a job coming up to go catch some other people involved in the rebellion from Vader, okay, fine. That sets it up to where he ends up on this ship in the motley crew of bounty hunters and gets told not to disintegrate anybody.
And then something that we disagree on that I think I only see this as a compromise, because there's going to at least be one producer or somebody in the studio going, we got to have Mace Windu in there somehow.
No.
If you got to do it.
No.
It could be maybe that's why he kills them at the end. It's maybe they told him they'd give him information to find Mace Windu and it doesn't follow through with it. Or if they have to bring Samuel Jackson into it.
See, that's why I don't like that.
Maybe that's who hired him for whatever reason. And when he realizes it after he finishes his job, that's why he kills him.
Yeah, I mean, because, again, going back to the comic books, Fett's killed people for not being able to pay. So it's, again, someone gives him false information on the man who murdered his father, from his point of view.
If you got to shoehorn it into it, you can do it.
I just don't like that because that's the easy way to do it, and that's what's been plaguing the new Star Wars films for so long, is they're doing the easy thing.
And one of the things you could do, if you want to avoid doing that and still have them in there, have it, especially if this is good enough to have sequels to it, set it up to where that's just one of the things he's trying to do while he's doing his job is track down Mace Windu, but it's always leading to dead ends.
Yeah, I mean, that could work. It could end up where he doesn't get resolution on that, and he's got to be forced to deal with it. That could be done. I mean, I'm not entirely against the idea it could be done. But one of the other things, too, just to kind of finally wrap this up, is that Star Wars has a lot of times been described as a Western in space. If there's any movie in the Star Wars universe, cinematic universe, that should be a Western in space,
it's the Fett story.
It's the Boba Fett story. The Sergio Leone Star Wars story that's about Boba Fett having to make up for botching a job for Jabba the Hutt. Like it, love it. I think that's where it should go. That's what it should be.
And with the director that they at least were announcing was going to direct it, was the guy who directed Logan. I think he could pull that off.
And 310 to Yuma.
And 310 to Yuma, which is a Western. I think he could pull it off. It's a Western,
by the way.
Yeah.
310 to Yuma.
Which that's actually a remake. And I've seen both of them, and both of them are good. But especially for a remake, that he did a great job with that film.
We really think that's the direction it should go, is the Star Wars Western film.
Yeah. And with him as a director, it could work. And if you need someone to write it, we're available.
We'll do it for half the money you're paying the current writers.
What if he doesn't survive? He's worth a lot to me.
The Empire will compensate you if he dies. Put him in.
To sum everything up, to save it, you need to make it either a hard PG or an R.
I don't think you're going to get that R, but a hard PG,
close enough.
A hard PG-13 you're probably going to get. I mean, there's a lot of movies that are really, 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 really violent, but are not R's because they don't have any nudity or bad language in them.
Then, if you do an origin story, you got to be very sparing with it. Don't make it goofy at all.
Yeah, we don't need to see him as a kid running around.
Yeah, we've already had that movie.
We got it.
That was
Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones. We don't need it anymore. Don't make it goofy. Don't make him redeemable. Make him a badass, like a bad guy. You got to show why everybody in the Star Wars universe fears the name of Fett being brought up. Like, even if you're showing why, like leading up to it, like this is a little bit of a backstory of him. Like, even if you flash back, or it is a little bit of a backstory that you're showing his progression, like give a reason why everybody hates him. And then also keep social commentary out of it, or if you do it, don't make it flat out. Like, here's the message, hit you over the head.
The fuck is he talking about?
No blatant social commentary. It's not needed in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Star Wars is not the platform for blatant social commentary.
And then don't keep Rian Johnson around. Get rid of him. Apparently he was slated to do another trilogy for Star Wars. Don't do it.
It's nothing personal, Ryan. Really, it's not.
I liked Looper. It wasn't a horrible film. It wasn't
I thought,
the best,
Looper,
but it was really good. I entertained
it. That was an interesting concept, Looper, actually.
So you can do those stories. Just don't do it with Star Wars.
Don't do it with Star Wars. Yeah, man. Star Wars is... Star Wars isn't right for you.
Especially seeing your reaction to fans not liking the movies. I don't think you're a good mix for Star Wars. I'm sorry, but you need to find something else to do. But that focuses on your strengths, because that ain't it.
But enough about Rian Johnson. I think that's one of the problems too. Is we need to move on. If we're going to, if I'm a part of the team, if Star Wars is going to become Star Wars again, because right now Star Wars ain't Star Wars. Star Wars is something else that is named Star Wars. If Star Wars is going to become Star Wars again, something has to be done to revitalize interest in it, to get the casual audiences coming back for more than just, a movie for the kids who are, too old for kiddie stuff, and then on date night. It's got to be a movie that's so good people want to go back and see it who are not Star Wars fans. A way to do that is to really kind of break the mold to a degree when it comes to a Star Wars film, but not in a direction that involves social commentary or too much humor, which seems out of place and really lets the air out of situations, which really should be much more emotionally impactful.
And don't do like Solo did and have a backstory for every little thing. Like
everybody doesn't need a backstory. Yeah, we don't need the music video montage from Suicide Squad.
Yeah, we don't need that.
That's not
we
needed.
Don't need to know why Lando mispronounces Han Solo's name.
What? It sounds like Han.
There's still a chance to save Han. Anything Han? It's Han, but that's okay.
We don't need a backstory on why he can do a turn and cut through something as it's closing.
Han, no, we're not going to make it.
Oh, yeah?
Han, I'm telling you, it's too tight.
Watch this.
This is no cave.
What?
Thought we were in trouble there for a second, but it's fine. We're fine.
Which they did in that movie. We don't need all those little things. Like, you can have like references and stuff maybe, but keep them sparingly. Less is more. Don't just throw it in there to throw it in there.
If it's hinted at, it needs to actually be hinted at.
You don't need to show every little thing. And that was the good thing with Fett in the other movies is they didn't show a ton of stuff. So there's not a lot of stuff you need to do that for anyway. Yeah,
less is more when it comes to Boba Fett, which is kind of a weird statement to say for someone who is in support of a Boba Fett movie. Yeah. But that's, again, the same thing. Even in his own movie, he is not best used by taking the helmet off and doing long, teary-eyed dialogue about his past.
Yeah, we don't need to see him cry over his dad. Like, he can be emotional until the fact that it's like,
I don't need to see the teardrop out of the helmet.
Yeah, exactly. We don't need that. Like, maybe he's just more somber about it.
Yeah, like he's turned his sorrow into rage, and he takes it out on anybody that has a price on their head. This is how this is his bad choice of a coping mechanism is bounty hunting.
And this goes back to when I came up with the idea to make it like a Sergio Leone movie. You look at that, like most of the good guys in that aren't good guys at all.
No, they're not.
Like
they're more like less bad.
Yeah, like Clint Eastwood, his character in The Good, Bad, the Ugly, The Fistful of Dollars and A Few Dollars More, he's actually not that great a guy. Like, yeah, he'll do some good stuff in it, but like, look at what he does to in The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, what he does to the ugly. He leaves him to die. Like, he like shoots him down from getting hanged, but like pretty much leaves him in the desert to die.
Yeah, a desert with no water or horse or anything.
Yeah.
Like,
And that's maybe even a little too nice compared to what Fett should be, but still, it's some jumping off basis to start with. So, anyway, I think that pretty much wraps it up. Is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, really, one of the things that always comes up to my mind, which is interesting, is fan service in the Star Wars films. It's like, oh, that's just in there for fan service, or, you know, oh, it's meant to be in there, just get a big rah from the audience. I'm like, well, you know, that's the thing. Star Wars at this point is about fan service. Star Wars has an enormous fan base at this point. There's giant conventions. There's people that dress up as the characters.
These are the people giving you your money.
Yes, these are the people who you should be catering to. You
do not insult your audience.
It's harder to establish new customers for something than it is to maintain existing ones. As long as you're just giving the existing ones what they want, you're meeting the demands. Like, hey, I want a cool Star Wars movie that's not too preachy when it comes to other types of things. I just want a good romp, but I can still tell it's Star Wars. I want to be able to escape into my choice of, escapist fantasies, from the fan's perspective. And then my choice in this case, in the fan's perspective, is Star Wars. I want to be in Star Wars universe. I don't want to be in the one I'm currently in, where if I want to deal with these current social issues, I'll just go look at any of the social media platforms that are out there. and get it without the Star Wars branding. You know, this is kind of a fan service movie, but in a way, right now, you know, the people making Star Wars movies kind of owe it to the fans.
Yeah, especially after the last two Star Wars movies being as bad as they were. Like, Solo wasn't anywhere near as bad as The Last Jedi, but it was very weak.
It's just not there. It doesn't have the it. It doesn't grab you. It doesn't make you want to, you know, start, you know, a lightsaber academy now, you know, or anything like that. Or I want to go learn how to, you know, pilot a hovercraft like Han Solo. It's like it's not inspiring.
There is elements in the movie that were good by themselves, but together as a whole, there's not enough glue to keep it as a solid story.
Yeah, you just can't have cool plot points with nothing connecting them.
So there you go, guys. That's going to do it for this episode. Make sure to leave a comment down below to let us know what you thought, and we'll see you next time.